In the 1760s, a wave of revival was sweeping across North America. Hundreds of people gathered in barns or outdoors for days to listen to preachers at the great meetings. It was here where the United Brethren Church finds its beginnings. It was in Isaac Long's barn in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, that Martin Boehm, a German Mennonite preacher, shared the story of his life-changing encounter with Christ and becoming a newborn Christian. William Otterbein, a German Reformed pastor, was in the crowd that day. He was deeply moved because he too had experienced a truly transformed life in Christ. He left his seat, embraced Boehm, and declared passionately, "Wir sind Brüder," we are brethren. The statement shared by Otterbein to Boehm sparked a spirit-led movement called the United Brethren Church. Boehm and Otterbein, two very different men, agreed on the basics of faith in the living Christ. The United Brethren Church was the first North American denomination that was born without ties to Europe. The movement spread from Pennsylvania to Virginia and Maryland as a loose association of churches. By 1800, they saw the need to organize. They held a conference at Peter Kemp's house in Baltimore, where they elected Otterbein and Boehm as bishops. It was there where the denomination was officially named the United Brethren in Christ. They agreed to hold regular conferences. The church spread into Ohio and Indiana. Churches were led by lay leaders and were visited by preachers on horseback who would travel for hours just for one meeting. The church opened a publishing house and several colleges. Unlike most colleges of the day, the UB colleges admitted women. Otterbein College in Ohio also admitted blacks, which was unheard of in the day. The UB Church took a historic stand against slavery, which hindered its growth in the South. Otterbein College's President's House was a station on the Underground Railroad. In 1826, Bishop Christian Newcomer crossed the border into Canada at Fort Erie, where he founded some churches which ultimately disbanded. However, Ontario minister John Cornell had heard about the United Brethren Church and proposed a connection with them. Other UB ministers started working in Canada. In the 1850s, the church also turned to missions. A caravan of 96 people was sent to Oregon to start churches. 2 years later, they began working in Sierra Leone, West Africa. In 1889, the church had 6 bishops and 200,000 members, but trouble was brewing. Some leaders wanted to change the Constitution and adopt a new confession of faith. The church was split between liberals and radicals, who stuck to the original Constitution. The radicals, led by Bishop Milton Wright, numbered around 10,000 and split off from the main church body. For a time, there were 2 UB churches until the liberals ultimately merged with the Methodists in America and the United Church in Canada. The split was a major setback for the old Constitution United Brethren, who retained church buildings only in Michigan and Oregon and bought back one in Ontario. They had to reorganize. Bishop Wright's leadership was critical in keeping the church together, which he did with the help of his sons when they weren't too busy inventing the airplane. It was at this time in 1889 that the United Brethren ordained women with full clergy rights, and this continues today. The United Brethren founded a new denominational headquarters in Huntington, Indiana. Huntington University was also established. Over the 20th century, the church has grown to include nearly 500 churches in 17 countries around the world. There are national conferences in the United States, Canada, Honduras, Nicaragua, Guatemala, Jamaica, Sierra Leone, Hong Kong, the Philippines, and Mexico. UB churches are also flourishing in the mission districts: Haiti, Costa Rica, El Salvador, Germany, India, Macau, Thailand, and mainland China.